Good morning, gang. Happy Wednesday morning. Okay, we all know about the problem we have on the southern border in the United States, right? Well, how many times have I said, watch what happens in Europe and wait for it to come here? Okay. Something that we need to pay attention to, especially when we're heading into election season. And I'm not necessarily talking about for president, I'm talking more or less for members of Congress. Europe has a huge immigration problem as well, with people heading north from Africa and from the Middle East like crazy into Europe. To the point where, as I've showed you before, you have calls to prayer in the middle of London during the day where you can't even hear the train scheduling or whatever, any train changes at train stations. Well, England has now not only done one of the stupidest things I've ever seen, but completely got shafted for doing it. Okay. So England realized that bringing in all these illegals wasn't a good idea. Okay, because they're coming into Europe illegally as well. You've seen all those videos, rafts and boats and God knows what going across any body of water to get to whatever country, whether it's Italy or France or England or wherever they're coming into. So England decided that they were going to figure out a way to deport these people. But in the great humanitarian ideals of the liberals that are running Great Britain, their brilliant solution was to make a deal with the government of Rwanda down in England to build houses for the immigrant or for the deported immigrants. I want you to think about this for a second. So this is what happened, and I'm going to kind of go into it. So England agreed to pay the government of Rwanda $300 million, or I'm sorry, 300 million pounds, which is almost $400 million, to build housing for the deportees, okay, in Rwanda. So just imagine this. Rwanda had no problem taking the money, 300 million pounds, $400 million. And they proceeded to build 167 houses that look like this. Okay? Take a look at those. Those are really beautiful homes, right? They should be. Each one of them cost nearly 1.8 million pounds. Okay? Now, we had to put in streets and we had to put in street lights and we had to run electricity. They had to put the infrastructure in, right? So this was the theory. So now, after all these illegals came to Great Britain was going to send them back to, send from wherever. Okay, so this could have been somebody coming from Ethiopia and they're going to deport them to Rwanda. Well, then they had a little problem because the courts, the good old liberal courts in Great Britain, decided that it was inhumane to deport these people from Great Britain to Rwanda, to relocate them. So the people, the illegals, are still in Great Britain, pending all these court cases. Well, Rwanda came up with a great idea, and the government sold 70% of these houses to Rwandan locals. Okay? So now Great Britain's out all this money, plus a promise for another nearly 300 million pounds that they've been sending in bits and pieces. Okay? So for a total of 600 million pounds, $750 million. Haven't gotten rid of any illegals, but managed to build a beautiful ghetto for the Rwandan people. Tax dollars well spent. So be ready for this type of solution to come up this summer, presented by somebody in Congress. Okay? That, oh, we've got a solution for the southern border. And we'll start deporting people, but what we need to do is give Mexico, or whoever, wherever they decide to do this, a bunch of money so they can build housing for these people. Remember President Obrador demanding $20 billion a year? Well, maybe Joe goes, you know what? We'll give you $20 billion a year and we'll fund, I don't know, 15-minute cities and then deport people? Again, we'd have to pay for it. Just like in Great Britain, tax dollars, because they're doing so well with their tax revenue over there, deficits. They have money to build houses for other people in other countries, just like we do. We have a generation, if not two, the Zoomers and the Millennials, who fear they will never be able to afford a house. But hey, if you're an illegal, come across the border, get in line to get deported, and get your brand new house. You get a house, and you get a house, and you get a house, right? We're going to see the Oprah Winfrey effect out of Washington, D.C. This is the kind of crap that the liberal Looney Tunes in whatever country come up with. As I've said a million times, they can't think past here. Oh, gee, we'll give them a bunch of money. We won't have all our I's dotted and T's crossed to deport the people, like we have any responsibility to build them housing anyway. And then, when we forgot the fact that we can't get the people out of the country, they've already got our money. The houses are already built. What do you think they're going to do? Let them sit and rot? They're going, nah, these illegals are never coming. We don't need these houses. Let's sell them and make the money. And then we'll keep it. You honestly think Rwanda's going to send the money back to Great Britain and say, hey, let's, give you your money back. Thanks for the loan? No. Okay. So that isn't the only idiotic thing coming out of Great Britain this week. So you had good old Lord Cameron, the head of the British Foreign Office. Well, he made a visit to the United States. It's the same guy I told you the other day that said that England isn't going to send any more troops or equipment or anything to Ukraine, that we're going to let the United States pay for it all. Okay, again, what I was talking about, we have foreign politicians now dictating U.S. economic policy. So David Cameron came to the United States and wanted to go see Mike Johnson to talk about getting more money for Ukraine. Now, Mike Johnson has not been exactly what you'd say the best Speaker of the House. He's really stepped on it with some issues. Johnson told Cameron, I don't have time to meet you. Okay. Not going to discuss it whatsoever. So Cameron tried to get a meeting with Trump. Cameron wasn't exactly overly friendly to Trump, supportive of Trump in either 2016 or 2020. You know what Trump's response was? Pound sand. So on Cameron's begging tour of the United States, trying to tell everybody you need to send money and support Ukraine. The leaders of the GOP basically said, fly a kite. Okay, good. So then, of course, Cameron had to go with Tony Blinken, the Secretary of State, on some press conference and just look like an absolute fool. But this is what they're between Blinken and Cameron up there trying. Well, we'll get this done, and the Republicans will come around and give us money and everything. Why is it that everybody else in the world thinks we grow money trees in the United States? We're paying 40% more for groceries than we were before this moron got in the office. Half the country can't afford a house. We see less Americans working now than were working when Joe was elected. A lot more illegals and a lot more H-1Bs are working, but Americans, no. The great replacement theory that people talk about sure seems to be true, because we can afford to feed immigrants, we can afford to house immigrants, we can afford to spend billions of dollars on wars for countries that aren't even an ally. We can do all this with our money. But when it comes to helping people, nah. I mean, we're going to cut Medicare. Social Security is going to go broke, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We can't help our own people, but we can help everyone else in the world. Personally, I'm sick of this nation building crap. Okay. So what was their solution? Well, at least out in California, they came up with the brilliant idea of let's do $20 minimum wage for fast food workers. And if you've seen the news, what's gone on since April 1st, okay, the $20 minimum wage deal has been in policy here for now 9 days, 10 days, whatever it is. Restaurants are closing left and right. Franchisees are shuttering the doors. Other companies are laying off people. So what Gavin Newsom managed to do with that one was reduce the workforce, put less people to work. Okay, more Americans losing their jobs. But if anybody honestly thinks that the objective of Gavin Newsom was to make people's lives better, hey, you're going to make more money, you're sadly mistaken. Newsom's objective there, just like Biden's objective is with this whole deal on trying to increase wages. We know what it does to inflation. It's to increase tax revenue. Think about this. If you make $15 an hour and all of a sudden you're making $20 an hour, you have to pay more taxes. You have to pay more in Social Security into the Social Security slush fund. Your company has to pay more in taxes. Your company has to pay more into the Social Security slush fund. And do you think they'll save any of that money? No. Gavin Newsom is out there going, look at this, more money I can spend. And I just milked them. Made it sound like it was great for the workers. But ultimately what he's trying to do is get more money so he can push forward all these idiotic ESG and CRT and DEI and LGBTQ ideas he's got. And people aren't going to put up with it. And the businesses, like we all said, would shut down the stores, lay off workers, and everybody'd suffer. The day that comes that a liberal can think past here will be the day the world ends. It ain't going to be an eclipse. When the light bulb finally goes off in people's heads that liberalism destroys societies, maybe then we'll be able to move forward. But as long as we have idiots running the world, like Joe Biden, like David Cameron, like Gavin Newsom, and I could go on for an hour with names, we'll never get anywhere. Once we get rid of the people that can't make an intelligent decision and all they know how to do is steal from other people, that's our doom. Don't be foolish. Make sure you know exactly what the person you're voting for stands for. If we see an idea like this come through the United States, I mean, that should be clean house of Congress. Okay? No, it's not our responsibility to house the rest of the world while we can't house our own people. Just pay attention, do your thinking. Don't vote for people just because of the letter next to their name. Make sure that they actually have your best interest at heart. And if they don't grace them with your support. Pinball out.